It's time to go to Thailand. Thailand time.
Take 6. This
100.
is Drew here with my little sister Ashley.
Hello.
Yes. Can you make more hissing noises throughout the podcast?
Sure.
You are listening to New Release, a TV podcast where, Ashley?
I'm not going to know the mission statement.
New Release is a TV podcast where we make our favorite new shows feel
magical.
Special.
Close.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that hard.
Yeah, it's not. But I'm just so conditioned to the other one. And I never say it, so... Yeah.
No. Well, you never say it because you never...
I don't know it.
have it correct, but you're supposed to say it. Anyway, this is episode 248 of New Release. Prime or not Prime?
I'm sure it's divisible by 2, 4, 6, 8, probably 12. The list goes on. 24.
You got it.
Thank you.
There's your party music. Last time I said I was going to play that all throughout the episode, and I played it exactly once.
Yep.
So
Throughout, for sure.
See if we can break that record on this episode. But for now, we are, I think, going to jump right into White Lotus. Where we left off was the first episode, the season premiere of season 3.
Yep.
And there's been 2 episodes since then. We'll be releasing this right before episode 4 comes out, so perfect timing there. Especially considering somebody stopped watching Severance.
Yeah, you did. I don't know why you did. It seems like the best show ever made, so...
Convincing. Reverse little
yes,
deflection technique.
I did drop off from Severance, unfortunately. I think I just couldn't... I don't know. I just wasn't looking forward to watching it. So...
It's a lot of... It feels like work a little bit to uncover the mystery. I think we finally got some pretty interesting answers to a few questions in the last episode, so I was going to tell you to watch episode 7. It's basically Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind for Mark S. and his wife, who may or may not be dead, who's clearly...
She's not dead.
A version of her exists in the severed floor. But I think we get some answers there in a pretty helpful way in episode 7. All right, well, let's transition into White Lotus with this noise.
Nice.
There we go. All right.
Play the real one. You don't have season 3?
I don't have it. So
okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Gladly. No, I thought about clipping the new intro sound, but didn't get around to it. So
That's
here
okay.
we are. Where are you at with the show? 3 episodes in.
I have to say overall, I don't find it as interesting as the first 2 seasons.
Okay, why?
I don't care about the characters as much. Location's cool. I love the location. The resort's beautiful. We talked about that at length last time, but the different groups of people aren't really they're not making me really interested in the show, unfortunately.
Well, let's go around the room because I wanted to do this eventually. So I've got the characters pulled up, courtesy of, I think this is like official HBO art that they put out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's cool. Yeah, so starting with the top left, why don't we just go around the horn here? Starting with the Ratliff family. Where are you at with them?
I don't care about them at all.
Okay. So the dad is wrapped up in this financial scheme that's about to crash down like a tsunami on the family and wipe out all their wealth and status and basically privilege that they value very highly. And so there's this tension. It seems like Parker Posey is starting to pick up on the tone of these phone calls that he is sneaking off to take. By the end of episode 4, 3, he's convinced his whole family to get rid of their devices so that he can at least keep his son. I mean, like, basically people are at the point where they're reaching out to his son because he works for the same company. Potentially this would have happened even sooner, but
Yeah.
regardless, if they stay connected to the internet, they're all going to learn what's happened. So you're not intrigued by this brewing, reveal that his family's broke.
No, it's just I just want a different storyline. So no, it's not. That's probably that's actually my least might be my least favorite storyline. There's another one I don't like either. So
all right, well that's the Ratliffs. We haven't really gotten any new insight into the incestuousness of the boys or the sex life of the daughter.
Yeah.
She did finally schedule her appointment with
which was good. That's interesting. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to Goggins and Amy Lou. You were more or less right.
Yeah. Sort of. I mean, he is there to do a job for himself.
Well, I wouldn't even call it a job.
Yeah. He's avenging his father's murder.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, we don't even 100%. I was kind of sharing a theory that other people had after the first episode that he was looking for his dad. Mm-hmm. But if we believe what he is saying in his therapy sessions, his dad is dead and was murdered, and he's looking probably for his dad's killer, who is the hotel co-owner or the owner of the hotel with the woman who's performing and running it when he's not there. Yep. So they're going to go to Bangkok, potentially in the next episode, and track him down, I'm guessing. I think they're my favorite. Actually. Okay. Why?
The snake scene was really funny. I loved him getting high and then releasing all the venomous snakes. That was awesome.
Despite one of them attacking her and almost killing her.
Yeah, but she didn't die. So it was just really like, what's he doing? Like, oh no, he's letting go all the snakes. It was just funny because I feel like this. I don't know if the first and second season I can't really remember, but this one's not very funny. So like at any point anything can happen that's like a little comical. I'm in.
I think the women, we'll get to them next, are kind of funny. But before we move on, where we left off in episode 1, he had displayed zero personality, zero interest in his young girlfriend's, mood or desire for him. Like there was zero chemistry between them. Yeah. And I think over the course of the last 2 episodes, 1, he took his shirt off. That was cool. He's jacked. Despite his balding hair and graying, weathered face, he's still got the body of a young man.
I was surprised. I was like, oh.
Yeah. So that was like, not to be completely superficial about it, but I think after 3 episodes, we actually are supposed to believe that they're attracted to each other. They're a real couple. She's not scamming him. I think there's a lot of missing information in terms of like how they got together and how interested he is in her, and he's just like letting her latch onto him but doesn't really care about her, but at least there's some affection. So I don't know, I think that's important. All right, well, let's move on to the 3 cougars, the
3 best friends, sort of, that all talk shit about each other.
What do you think about them and this viral Trump moment?
Oh my gosh,
took place in the
I rewound that and watched it twice because I was like, this is wild.
It was good. It was really, why don't you explain that interaction?
So they're all 3 at this really nice dinner having drinks, just like relaxing, and then they start talking slowly about politics a little bit, and Leslie Bibb either just moved to Texas or lives in Austin, Texas, with her family, and she talks about church and how a great community it is, and they're like, oh, well, isn't that weird with your like political views? And she's like, well, I'm independent, but my husband did vote for Trump. And they're like, oh. They're like, well, you didn't vote for him. And she just stays silent, and she's like, well, let's just get back to drinking. It was just like such a it was really good. It was very well written. Of course it's going to be well written, but
well written, slow played by the actors.
Yeah,
And
so uncomfortable.
yeah, it's like this, like a lot of things on the show, it's kind of just this simmering um, cauldron or
Yeah.
slow motion car crash that they create just by like subtle like tension between the characters. I do think that's what's still working really well in season 3. Maybe that's not. I think I agree. It's not as funny, but
Yeah.
just the fact of like how much mileage they're getting out of watching characters watching other characters to have conversations about them, especially these 3 women. So
Yeah.
at the end of the episode or after that dinner scene, Leslie Bibb is
Overhears
watching
them. Yeah.
yeah, she hears them. They don't see her, even though it's like really tense to watch because we don't know if they're gonna like notice her listening in on them and feel and just like all these unsaid and all this fake behavior between the characters is just this running theme of White Lotus, and when the facade is going to drop and people are going to be discovered for what they really are, creates endless kind of tension for the show.
Yeah. I mean, so I like their dynamics. It's very interesting. And and I think you mentioned it last time, like out of all the dialogue, they have like the best dialogue out of any of the groups of people.
Yeah.
But that's going to blow up in their faces, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we don't care which one of them hooks up with the Russian dude. No, me neither. So that's happening. I do think that moment went really viral, and people were asking the cast about it. And they wrote that scene in 2022, I want to say. So it's not even post this
Interesting
election.
Timing.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was like capturing a moment that is obviously still relevant, that politics is more center stage and more of like a ideological viewpoint than ever before in everyday life, and it actually causes conflicts between couples and between friend groups and and people in a way that just didn't exist or wasn't as pop culturally relevant as it was even like 10 years ago.
Well, I don't even know if it didn't exist to me because of like my age now that I'm older, or if it just is so polarizing now that it's more talked about. I mean, I'm sure it's the latter, and obviously with social media and everything, it's very in your face, but it was.
Well, I think it was okay. Well, it was more normalized and more socially acceptable to like not have an opinion or to be a little ignorant or checked out of politics when we were, like in our early 20s or something, let's say. Yeah. And now it's like no one's going to not have an opinion on Trump.
Right.
But we won't share those because it's pointless. Belinda.
Okay, she wants to hook up. Well,
I thought her son would be here by now.
Yeah, it hasn't been a week. It's only been like 4 days, 3 days.
I thought he was coming the next day, but he's coming at the very end.
He's coming at the last day when everything happens. To my knowledge, but so it's day 3. I think it's just like every episode's a day, right? It's like 7 episodes. I don't know.
There's like one extra episode than versus days, something like that.
Okay.
Like we went 8 days back.
Oh, okay. 8 days back.
The first episode. Yeah.
So she is still getting guidance from like a mentor that works there at the facility, and she's realizing how attractive he is, and he's into her, which I think is pretty cute, actually.
Yeah. Why do you think she didn't invite him in? Unprofessional. Was not sure she was reading.
I think she didn't know if she was reading it correctly.
Yeah.
And so because she even like poked fun a little bit at what he said because she didn't understand if that was a good tradition or not. So
she's like, is that a Thai phrase?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm just horny.
Yeah, but he didn't say that. And he walked away.
Yeah.
I like their little flirting. I think it's cute.
This show is so cynical and so toxic that when there are actual good characters and good relationships, your guard really goes up.
Yeah.
So do you think there's any kind of they're just going to be victims of a horrible circumstance that's coming, or do you think he's hiding something?
I don't think he's hiding anything. I think she's just gonna get murdered by accident.
The one scene that was tense in the way they were describing between the women, or at least again the show just kind of has me on guard for it, was when she was like venting about all the shit that's happened in her life. I was like, oh, he's like really annoyed and turned off that she's going through all this like tragedy stuff, and that wasn't the case at all.
No,
but it was just like I was waiting for some kind of shoe to drop in that scene, that dinner scene between them, that was going to drive a wedge. But I think the wedge is going to be Gary/Greg.
Yeah.
So they finally confront each other, but he just plays dumb and pretends that she's got the wrong person.
Yeah, I really just don't want him in this season. So I'm still like,
I think that's probably my biggest complaint. I'm not finding. I love the setting. I like the characters as much as other groups in the past. I mean, like I could probably rank them, but it's close enough. But I don't necessarily need this Greg big bad looming.
But I'm sure he'll come into play, and there'll be like a shootout or something with him. You know, like something's gonna happen with him. He might die, maybe.
Yeah. Anything about Mook and Guy talk?
No.
Yeah.
That's just. I think that. That's
well, what do you think? What do you think his meeting is about? So we skipped over episode 2, in terms of a recap or anything. But one of the big developments in episode 2 is that there's a robbery that seems probably like an inside job, like some level of inside involvement. They get past him, and then they knock him out on the way out. Basically, he doesn't do a great job of stopping the robbery.
No.
And then
but he was distracted by another guy, probably on purpose.
Yep.
Inviting him to some like party or something. So.
Yeah, to a fight, maybe.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Muay Thai fight.
Yeah.
In Bangkok, so potentially, or maybe I think the fight was in Bangkok. Like potentially, I'm actually really intrigued by the show leaving the island and going to another location for an episode or
that'd
more.
Be great.
So that'd be fun. And the show hasn't really. It did it a little bit last season with the countryside of Italy.
Yeah.
And then they couldn't do it in season 1 because of
COVID.
Production constraints and COVID. Yeah.
Yeah.
But are you rooting for him? Like he sticks up for himself and asks to
be a bodyguard.
Yeah. Which did I mention that his real life background?
No.
So this actor was a bodyguard for in Taiwan, Thailand, not Taiwan. A very high level bodyguard, jacked, like martial artist and trained fighter. So playing completely against this type, he had to lose weight and slim down to play this kind of meeker character.
That makes it much more interesting to know that.
Yeah. So he is playing completely against his like actual real life experience, which is funny. I don't know. And then he became got a few acting jobs in Thai productions, but his actual background is as a bodyguard.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But do you think he's getting fired or hired for some kind of other job?
I think he's getting hired for some type of other job, but it's not going to be a bodyguard. It's going to be some weird, like, deliver this package or something that's like...
It takes him to Bangkok.
That takes him to Bangkok, and he could get like really screwed over from. Is my guess.
Yeah.
It's like something that's really important that they're like, he'll definitely do his best to do X, but it could end in something terrible for him happening.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it would be the obvious misdirection is that they're going to fire him or punish him for fucking up during the robbery, but that seems too obvious.
Yeah, and I don't care about their love story at all, so...
Yeah, well, I don't have any hopes that I think she's doing an okay enough job of being nice and not leading him on any more than she can avoid. I mean, unless she just was completely...
But after this task, she might see him as a hero, and then she'll like him.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for her to perform. She performed at the Oscars.
She did?
So,
Was it really good? I haven't.
Yeah, it was good. It was part of the unnecessarily long Bond tribute that was just in the middle of the telecast. But, but yeah, I want to see her perform on the show. I feel like that's kind of one thing we're building to. I don't need to see Fabian perform.
Yeah, well, I kind of want to.
Actually, I do. Yeah, I want more performances and
just more awkward. Yeah, it might be really awkward, which I like. Yeah. That's fine.
All right. Well, last thing, I'm gonna circle all the way back around to Lockie here, getting his shoulders rubbed.
Yeah.
There are some warning signs that people are noticing about this kid's behavior and potential mass shooter vibes. He watches tsunami porn while they're on a ocean vacation.
But don't you think it's like too obvious?
Well, I don't know. I heard another podcast talking about this, and it made me think about it. So I wasn't immediately clocking that myself, but he is really awkward and a loner, and now he's displaying some tendencies of being desensitized to mass violence or mass, natural disaster related violence. Yeah. So, you know, and his family's fucked up.
Yeah, but he's close to his sister. Like, they're friends.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts or theories on the central mystery?
I don't. I actually don't. I don't want to
see more monkeys.
Yeah, we see more monkeys. Yeah, I don't know, because with Walter Goggins' character going to like avenge his father's death, maybe, and then this guy getting a special like task, and then with I don't know. It could be a 3-way shootout.
Well, we have all the armed like guards.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's like so many different sticks of dynamite that are floating around, or live grenades that are being nested. We haven't even seen the poisonous fruit payoff.
Oh yeah,
yet,
and
there's
the robbery,
a blender now.
Yeah, well, there's a blender now, and the robbery was an inside job. So like maybe there's that could be the bodyguards are supposed to protect that woman that aren't protecting her anymore, and now they want to who knows. There's a lot of like guns in the air on this one.
Yes, guns in the air. Love when that happens.
Point Break. That's what I was thinking.
So you're losing a little bit of steam, but obviously not
enough to
stop watching the show.
No, I'm still going to watch it because I want to know what happens. And yeah, it's just certain storylines. Usually I feel like with like the second season with Ari Plaza, and I liked all those storylines. I thought they were really interesting. It's just this one's kind of not as interesting to me.
Do you think is there just more characters in this season that they're trying to bounce between?
There are like 4 or 5 different groups. I feel like there's not usually this many.
Yeah, there's like one more group than normal. And like in season 2, like I mentioned, they did a good job of integrating like a local storyline or local characters a little bit more. I don't think they're even doing that with Guy Talk and Mook to the same extent thus far. But they did introduce, I think there's like one more big group of tourists that we're following in this season.
So if the family was just not there, it'd probably be stronger.
Yeah, well, one thing I liked let's talk about some moments in episode 3. I liked the storm imagery, basically her dream, Parker Posey's dream. She's on this dark beach, and there's a giant wave and tsunami coming, and her family is, at least Lockie, is like sitting off to the side. So I thought that was some really, and their like colonial style house is on the beach instead of the resort behind her.
Yeah, and the fact that like the people that work there like wrapped her in a blanket, and I was like, oh, she's gonna like get away from the storm, and she's like, no, I'm gonna walk right into it, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So didn't expect that. And that plays perfectly with the video he was watching of the person just standing there in the tsunami that they showed like the next day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously she's heavily medicated and lethargic at times and sleeps a lot. And you could see her character being kind of passive in a situation like that.
And she's a jerk.
Well, one scene that happened in episode 2, I believe, is when Leslie Bibb confronts her. What did you make of that?
I was just like, man, Parker Posey, I really like you as a person, but I'm hating this character so much.
So she just basically pretends so Leslie Bibb recognizes her and says they went to a weekend bridal shower together, and Parker Posey's playing it really way different than Greg Gary, because we actually know he's lying. We've actually seen him with Belinda before. But we don't know that Parker Posey is lying, for one, because these are new characters.
Yeah.
And we also don't know that she's not just she just doesn't have memory of it because she's, a pill addict and just has lost her mind.
But at the end, she's like, what? It was just a weekend. How am I supposed to remember? Or I was like, wow. I don't know.
I thought that was kind of awesome. I mean, all possible explanations make her character more of an interesting, horrible person.
Yeah.
Not defending her character. I just think makes it more more evil in an interesting way. Mm-hmm. Or she was saying that to her family is justification, and she was comfortable with them seeing her that way.
Yeah.
But she actually is just covering up the fact that she doesn't remember.
I don't know.
Which is sad for her.
Yeah.
If that's the case.
Oh.
So I don't know. I thought those were two scenes in back-to-back episodes where a character confronts someone else at the public dining space, and they just pretend to not know them, and it's really awkward.
Yeah.
Both times.
And Patrick Schwarzenegger is going to hook up with someone, so that's cool. Finally.
Yeah, who's it going to be?
The Gary's
escort?
girlfriend or whatever. Yeah.
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 So then in episode 3 we get your favorite scene. So what did you like about the snake charming scene?
I just like that Walter Goggins is kind of finally showing more dimension, and it's more interesting, and the fact that he was just so high, and he's I must release the snakes.
Yeah.
It was just so, I don't know. And then you can see that obviously his girlfriend gets bit by a snake, and he's really concerned about her, and immediately goes to the ambulance. You can tell he really cares about her. So I like that whole 5 minutes, but it was just funny watching him just release all these snakes.
Yeah, and he has he hasn't really shown any. Well, he started to show human emotion in 2 different places. One in his therapy sessions, which was very reluctant to go to, but they actually seem to be working. Mm-hmm. They are working in the sense that it's breaking him out of this kind of bubble that he's in, so much so that he has to go track down weed because he's feeling things too much for his liking. So he does that and gets super stoned, and maybe it's laced with something, he says.
Maybe.
And the snake pit is just this roadside kind of really depressing tourist attraction.
Yeah.
And they do a little live performance, and they do photo ops, and they show other people in the crowd eating Cheetos and being
I know.
Not having a enlightened or any kind of deep reaction to it. They're just
well, and the MC is just very I don't know, his tone is just so funny.
yeah So that's the kind of satire that the show trades in, and still has is good as ever, but there is something less laugh out loud funny about this season. But those moments I think do capture the tone of what the show is going for, even to an extent with the other people in the crowd, where I was oh, this is actually a little on the nose for White Lotus standards, to just show sort of overweight people eating junk food while watching a snake dance.
Yeah.
I was the show's usually a little more subtle, and we also don't I'm just thinking of this off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. We don't get that many that much B-roll or that many shots of people that aren't relevant to the show.
No,
that was a more extended focus on a non-character just as just a background, then like putting the background in the foreground and making them, because we're going through the POV of Goggins.
Yeah.
Watching them not take this seriously. And that's kind of seems to be like what spurs him to start releasing them.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck this. Yeah, I thought that was a fair reaction. I mean, obviously he wouldn't have probably gone that far if he hadn't been super stoned, but
right.
it is a inhumane treatment. Although Amy Lou brings up some good points.
Yeah, I really like her character, and she's so positive, even though she's like almost died twice apparently, and like I just like the whole reading of their different zodiac signs, and he's like, "Well, we're not even compatible," and she's
which
like,
was a joke.
Yeah,
I mean, like that was him like showing a little banter,
just a little bit,
sense of humor. Yeah, exactly. And he like got her. That was like a fun barb, versus him just calling her an idiot or whatever.
Yeah. Yep. And she just loves him so much. So it's like,
yeah. And I think that's why I was rooting, or that's why I was happy with getting more insight into him and their relationship, because if you want to like her as a character, you need to buy a little bit of her attraction to him, or else it just seems completely contrived.
Yeah.
Or she's up to something.
Ooh, maybe she's the one, you just like don't suspect her, and she's the one that like, who knows? Maybe she knows who murders his dad, and maybe she's trying to keep him away from Bangkok. She's like, I'll go with you because I will distract you from completing your mission.
It would be almost weird if she, like, because she drops things so quickly when he's being secretive and mysterious.
Yeah.
It would be, and she's displays, intelligence and wit and, like perceptive abilities in every other interaction. So it'd be almost weird if she was able to just like stay completely oblivious to everything to the extent that he thinks she is, or that the show is making us think she is. Like that seems unrealistic. So maybe the show's smarter than that. Like, and she does actually know a little more.
I hope so. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So we had the snake charming. What else? Haven't we covered from the last two episodes?
Man, I mean, the FBI is raiding the guy's office, the family's office, so it's escalated quite a bit. Belinda loves her mentor. I don't know if we've missed really anything.
One thing I've had in my notes just overall about the show, I think it's dialing it up more than ever, is the camera work and the cinematography, and because they're in Thailand and there's yoga and there's like they really go out of their way to like put the camera in weird positions and
I like the upside down ones, or the
Yeah.
ones where it's like straight up into the sky. Those are really cool.
Yeah, the women are having the three cougars are having like a conversation during one of their yoga sessions, and so you're seeing the camera, like you're seeing their POV when they have their head between their hands, like upside. Yeah, so it's like I think the show's as creative as ever with some of the camera work
techniques. Yeah,
and then just dwells on the shots of the monkey, and the shots of the storm were really beautiful in this beautifully ominous in this last episode. Do you think there's going to be a tsunami?
No.
Okay. You don't think there's going to be like a major a natural disaster?
No, because when they showed like the last scene, there wasn't any damage to the property at all.
I know. Was that how much rain and storm was happening IRL versus in her dream?
Oh,
I mean, it was I feel like we did see the rain and stuff beating down on their actual hotel lodging.
Did we?
But I don't know. I can't remember. So, but you're right. There was an abrupt transition, which I think was kind of the point, though, that the weather is just like really volatile like that. It can be stormy 1 second and then bright the next second.
Well, you did say in that video that it was like the tsunami happened like close by, or like it wasn't.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think he was watching an old he was watching a combination of maybe recent tsunami footage and also old footage, I thought. But
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, weird kid.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I think there could be a storm brewing, but obviously we know that might be too much to juggle between a mass shooter event and a tsunami. So I don't know.
Well, maybe the tsunami puts. Yeah, and it just didn't look like. I mean, it just didn't look like anything. There was any damage in the first episode. So I don't know. Unless it's like they're preparing for it, but it's going to come the next day, and then the shooter's like, I have to do this before it comes. I
almost mean on a symbolic level, like is the show just setting us up? Not like they already get the forecast? Like just.
Oh, I see.
Just do we think that's going to be?
I don't.
A big event to come.
No, I think it's just talking through like the family's troubles and what's brewing in general. I don't think it's like an actual storm's going to happen. And
did the device of getting rid of their devices, is that just going to buy them the rest of the vacation time, or do you think that situation is going to, like, someone's going to find a way to get in touch with them before the 8 days are up?
The latter, yeah.
Yeah, and I would be happy with that. Like, I was kind of happy that it was coming to a head in this episode.
They don't need
if
to further delay it.
If it doesn't come to a head in the next one,
yeah,
then that'll be disappointing.
Yeah, they don't need to like further delay this news. Like, you know.
I almost started not to feel bad for him, but I felt like his character was doing a good job of like conveying how upsetting this is in relation to his, like, he genuinely loves his family and loves that he was able to give them this lifestyle. And so I think Jason Isaacs, I think that's his name, is doing a good job of conveying like how upset he is that he's going to let down his family like this.
Yeah, I think so as well, but I just, again, don't unfortunately care about the storyline.
Yeah.
His acting's great. Like he's doing a good portrayal of how someone would react in that situation, and you can tell he cares about his family, but I just don't care about his family, I guess.
Yeah. So you're ready to head to Bangkok.
Yeah, I'm definitely ready. I'm hoping it happens this coming episode.
Yeah, well, watch the Weeks Ahead trailer, and you'll probably find out.
I'm not going to.
I haven't seen them either.
Perfect.
But yeah, that'd be my prediction. I actually thought they were going to go this episode.
Okay.
Just because of where it left off, like he told her, "I'm going to need to leave," and then now they've also scheduled like a boat trip. That maybe
right.
that maybe Schwarzenegger is also going on.
I think so. Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah.
Same people.
So we're going to get an episode in Bangkok. We're going to get an episode on a boat probably that might be sort of bottle.
Do you think it's the same boat?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I do, because it's convenient for the show.
Yeah.
To put these characters in the same place.
No. I meant the same boat from the last season that his wife fell off of and died.
Was that Greg's boat?
No, but I wonder if he inherited it. Well, I guess it was. She was visiting. Never mind. It wasn't her boat. I thought it was hers, but no.
Yeah.
It'll be.
But it is Greg's boat that they're going out on, and he does have a bad track record with boats.
Yeah, or a good track record, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, however you want to look at it. It also just occurred to me. That's not the question you were asking, but we have to get Schwarzenegger and Greg's girlfriend on the same boat because they're.
Oh, yeah.
Or, it seems like they're going to hook up. But also Greg already clocked it.
Yep.
So, who knows? I mean, his character sucks, and he was funny in one scene playing off of Goggins.
Yeah.
Sort of. When
kinda.
They weren't, like, they both weren't talking.
Yeah.
But otherwise, he's just completely just kind of like an anchor weighing down the show in terms of plot. For sounds like both of our tastes.
Yeah, and the conversation like, oh, I do a little this and that. And he's like, yeah, I do this and that too. And I was like, okay, this conversation. But
yeah, well, he's not going to say I killed.
No, I know, but it's just like there's no between the two of them. There's just no energy at all. Yeah. So. Yeah,
which like is funny if you really think about it, but it's not. It's
right.
not LOL funny. It's funny that they're trying to make this into like a dramatized conversation on a show. It's funny intellectually, but not really, on
vocally.
a gut level. Yeah, not really in the way that counts. All right, well, I guess that's it for this episode. We're
Just kidding.
yeah. We're gonna probably come back to discuss White Lotus next. I mean, unless something else pops up that is more interesting. So we'll just stay on the White Lotus train. I do have to find someone to
Do Severance.
Do the finale of Severance at least. But in the meantime, we'll just stay in Thailand.
Ooh, sounds good to me.
All right. Well, you can follow along on all of our adventures by searching New Release on Spotify or Apple, or New Release Radio on YouTube, or New Release Podcast on Instagram. Ashley, where do you want to point?
Right here.
Like and subscribe. Yeah. All right. Well, that's
a straps.